This is the WJTS News. In the news tonight, Patoka Lake Cleanup, Latino Culture Fest, State Senator Mark Messmer's weekly report. Kurt Guxell will be in with sports, and our WJTS Informed segment continues with Rally Point Events board member Gary Heisel as we talk about the Salute Music Fest. On our Monday with the Mayor segment, we speak with Rockport Mayor Gayanne Harney. All to come on WJTS TV News. I'm Jenna Schaffer with the news. Tires, plastic bottles, fishing lines, styrofoam cups, and more were collected by volunteers Saturday as part of the annual Patoka Lake cleanup. Bill Potter was at Patoka Lake and has the story.
Individuals, young and old, along with organizations, picked up trash as part of the 13th annual event to beautify the Patoka Lake shoreline and areas draining into the lake known as the watershed. John Wade with the Patoka Lake Watershed Committee described where cleanup crews were sent.
We have so many volunteers that over the years we found out that we got to really move out a little bit further than we normally would do. So we're moving out in some of those ditches and drainage ditches that are moving into the lake, but a little further out. So we're actually picking up more trash in areas that we've never picked it up before. Also, there are strategically placed around four of the Patoka Water and Sewer employees, and once we designate people to go to that spot, then they will work those people out to the designated areas to pick up the trash.
Cleanup Day is coordinated by the Patoka Lake Watershed Steering Committee and hosted by Patoka Lake Regional Water, Indiana DNR, and the Corps of Engineers. The Watershed Committee is a volunteer group of stakeholders who bring awareness to the health of the watershed. The Patoka Lake Watershed covers parts of Crawford, Orange, and DuBois counties. John Wade describes the watershed area.
Well, the watershed is basically any tributary, any of those little ditches that flow into the Patoka River, and then the river flows into Patoka Lake. Once it gets to the dam and flows out toward Jasper, that's where our watershed quits. So everything from the dam toward Jasper is in a different watershed. We're just looking at the watershed that drains into the Patoka Lake.
Greg Carpenter, project manager with the Army Corps of Engineers at Patoka Lake, discussed the importance of this event in relation to the Corps and local community.
This Patoka Lake is very important to us because environmental stewardship is a big part of our mission. We work hard to reach out to the community. We like the community to know that we're a part of you. We're a part of this community. We're not a separate entity. We are this community. Our interest has to do with everything water related, not just reducing flood damage down below, not just levees, not just dams, but water quality, stewardship, the fish, the wildlife, everything that depends on it, including the drinking water supply here at this lake. So we like to do our part to help all those aspects.
Patoka Lake is a vital part of our area, providing flood control, recreation, and water supply to more than 100,000 Patoka Lake water customers in southern Indiana. Reporting from Patoka Lake, I'm Bill Potter.
The Patoka Lake Watershed Committee hosted a Hoosier River Watch workshop this past spring and is planning a tour of the Patoka Lake Dam and Water Treatment Plant October 10th. Details are available on the Patoka Lake Watershed Committee Facebook page. The Latino Culture Fest kicked off last night with the annual Miss Latina Queen pageant. The 2019 Miss Latina Queen was Daisy Sandoval. First runner-up in the 2019 Miss Latina Queen pageant was Carla Alegria. Miss Congeniality was Crystal Gonzalez. The Latino Culture Fest takes place this Friday and Saturday at the Huntingburg City Park. The next legislative session is coming up, and right now interim study committees are underway to review the important issues. To talk on this topic, here's State Senator Mark Messmer with his weekly report.
Hello, this is State Senator Mark Messmer with this week's Messmer Report. During the summer and fall, when Indiana's part-time legislature is not in session, lawmakers serve on interim study committees to review important issues in preparation for the upcoming legislative session. Study committee topics are assigned by the bipartisan Legislative Council, on which I serve. The council is comprised of 16 voting members, 8 from the Senate and 8 from the House of Representatives. Some of the topics assigned to study committees this year include reviewing factors contributing to our state's rising health care and prescription costs in the Interim Study Committee on Health and Provider Services, researching opportunities to further ensure the safety of Indiana's roads and highways in the Interim Study Committee on Roads and Transportation, discussing a variety of important education topics, including our state's current elementary and high school career counseling system in the Interim Study Committee on Education, identifying policies to better protect senior citizens from financial exploitation in the Probate Code Study Committee, and determining solutions to conserve Hoosier farmland and preserve Indiana's Lake Michigan shoreline in the Interim Study Committee on Agricultural and Natural Resources. Each study committee is a valuable resource to lawmakers, allowing us to hear testimony from professionals, advocates, and constituents on a number of topics. The discussions held during this time are crucial in finding the best solutions to different problems affecting Indiana and will be helpful in crafting legislation next year. In addition to serving on the Legislative Council, I'm the chair of the Interim Study Committee on Environmental Affairs and a member of the Environmental Adjudication Director Selection Panel. The interim is a great time to contact me with issues you believe the General Assembly should be looking at next year, and I encourage you to view Interim Study Committee agendas and stream hearings online by visiting iga.in.gov. This has been State Senator Mark Messmer with this week's Messmer Report.
As always, feel free to contact his office directly with your questions and concerns by email at senator.messmer@iga.in.gov or by phone at 800-382-9467. Indiana State Police are investigating a cold case in Daviess County. Reports are saying investigators were seen digging ground at Oak Grove Cemetery in Washington Friday morning. Police say that they are working on a cold case dating back to the 1980s. However, they have not released any information at this time. A judge has sentenced a southwestern Indiana man to 65 years in prison for fatally strangling his 5-year-old son. The sentencing on Friday came after 55-year-old Robert Baldwin of Vincennes pleaded guilty but mentally ill in June for Gabriel Baldwin's 2017 death. Knox County Judge Sherry Gregg Gilmore says Gabriel trusted his father to care for him and gave Baldwin the maximum sentence. Gabriel's grandmother called Baldwin's actions repulsive and incomprehensible. The prosecutor played a video in while Baldwin told investigators he killed his son because he was frightened of becoming homeless and saw no other way out of his situation. Defense attorney Dale Webster argued Baldwin's serious mental illness, diagnosed by 3 psychiatrists, was to blame. Indiana University is preparing for the reopening of its Bloomington Campus Art Museum this fall following a $30 million renovation. The current building for the Sidney and Lois Eskenazi Museum of Art opened in 1982 and was closed in May 2017 for the renovation project, which included extensive updates to the building's infrastructure and adding centers for education, conservation, and curatorial studies. University officials say a $15 million donation from the Eskenazis toward the project was the largest cash gift in the museum's history. The museum's collection included more than 45,000 objects. The museum is scheduled to reopen to the public on November 7th. A Clark County man drowned at the Ohio River over the weekend. Multiple agencies responded to a 911 call to the report of a capsized kayaker in the Ohio River across from the George Rogers Clark boat ramp in Clarksville. According to preliminary investigation, 28-year-old Travis Hughes of Pewee Valley, Kentucky, was kayaking shortly after 9 p.m. with his 30-year-old brother and his 30-year-old girlfriend. Hughes' girlfriend's kayak capsized after hitting a wave, and Hughes capsized his kayak during an attempt to save her. Hughes' girlfriend swam for safety to a nearby island while Hughes' brother attempted to search the water in his kayak until rescue crews arrived. A little over 2 hours later, at around 11:30, Hughes' body was found and recovered floating just out of a nearby hydroelectric dam. The Clark County Coroner's Office will rule a cause of death. Toxicology reports are pending. Officials say no life jackets were worn by any of the kayakers. Conservation officers strongly encourage boaters to always wear life jackets when on any type of boat, regardless of the size of the waterway. Stay tuned. Weather, sports, Monday with the Mayor, and our WJTS Inform segment are coming up next on 18 WJTS.